I need one of those things like you got. What kind of microphone do you have?
That is a Rode microphone, RODE. Oh, I think we're live.
All right.
Hey, you have to announce today.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome to the Knife Journal.
What's all this feedback?
I don't know. I was yelling. I was yelling in the microphone.
All right.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. That
Okay.
was my fault.
Welcome to the Knife Journal podcast. This is episode 111?
No.
112? 13?
No. Yes.
14? 13.
113.
113 on Friday. And everybody's getting ready for the grand weekend. We finally have some spring in the air.
Yep. Chipmunks came up last week. I put a picture up of a chipmunk on Facebook.
Nice.
First one above ground.
Nice.
But he was very confused because literally I watched my woods like a hawk.
Mm-hmm.
And he was literally the first chipmunk up. And he sat there for like a couple hours just staring into the distance. Because there's like 4 feet of snow back then. Now we've had a little bit of melt off.
Yeah, we have had some serious meltdown up here. And almost all the snow is off my roof, which is a good thing. And spring is in the air, you know. I had a guy I pulled out in front of my house yesterday he went off the road and decided he was going to try to put his truck, drive it in the ditch and then drive it back out, and failed miserably. He was kind of funny because I'm not sure. I didn't get close enough to see if he had a toot full, but he said a deer ran across the road. And
if he didn't have a toot full, he was doing it wrong by where you live.
Yeah, exactly. and so I think what happened was that he probably was texting and drove off the road.
Okay.
Because there was no deer tracks any.
Yeah, but he didn't know who he was talking to.
Yeah. But I was being nice. I pulled him out. I mean, I he didn't have a trailer hitch, so I had to go get one of my hitches and put he didn't even have a pin, so I got him all set up and yanked him out. And
well, you know how the tow truck drivers do it?
Give me $20.
Well,
what?
No, they give me $80.
Yeah.
But what they do is they take a tow strap and they hook it to the tow truck, and then you put the tow strap through the wheel, the front wheel closest to where you're trying to pull them out.
Mm-hmm.
And it pulls you right. And don't ask me how I know that.
We mean through the wheel.
Okay, so my wheel has spokes.
Yeah.
So it's rims, tire, and spokes. Yeah. And they took it and they put it through, wrapped it around the wheel through the spokes and hooked it onto itself, and then pulled out using just that.
So you have rims and spinners.
I don't have spinners. What's wrong with you? Hey, we should say hello to our live audience.
We have who's on?
We are very much nobody's commented yet, but there are people on. And what I do want to say is that Jim and I are trying to make this a thing that shows up as a podcast, as well as showing up on a live YouTube channel and on Facebook. And we're trying to work out all the bugs to be able to do it and have both of us show up on screen at the same time. It is actually a fairly difficult thing to accomplish, especially if I'm using the Superior system, which is, of course, a PC. And Jim is using the Inferior system, which is a Mac, which is only for people who consume too much soy.
That's funny. Can you just for giggles here? What is the processor in your computer?
I've forgotten. This computer is actually pretty old, but it's at least a 7-core processor. So there's at least 7 cores on it.
Okay,
The
so
newer version of what I'm doing is like a 9-core processor, and I have a kind of a middle of the road PC.
yeah,
Mhm.
my Mac is from early 2013, and it has an i7 processor, 2.7 gigahertz, and
Yeah,
16 gigs,
Intel. Yeah.
16 gigs of memory. And I have a NVIDIA GeForce GT 650M.
Okay, so I have mine was bought the same year. I have probably the same or a little better processor than you have, and I have a way better video card.
Yeah.
And I paid less than $2,000 for mine. But listen, it's people get hooked on they systems, and if you like a Mac, use a Mac.
No, you know what happened to me? I was a Windows guy since before Windows.
Like hardcore, yeah, like in
Seriously.
DOS era. Like,
Yep,
and so was
exactly.
I.
My first
Yeah.
computer was my first DOS computer was a Televideo, and it was called a they had a name for it. It wasn't a laptop, but it was like the size of a suitcase, and it folded up. It was called what the hell was it? Transportable or something like that. And it had two 5 1/4 floppy drives and about a 9-inch amber screen on it.
Right.
And that was a I'm trying to think of what there was MS DOS. Was it MS DOS? No, it was a CPM 80 machine.
Okay, that's like 1986.
That's pre DOS. Yeah.
Yeah. So my first computer was a Commodore 4. How do you
64.
like them? No, Commodore
Okay, so I had before
4.
that machine, I had a TI 994A.
I remember those. Those were good. You could buy them at like Radio Shack.
Yep, they
And
were
you could
actually.
run basic on those. They were
To be
awesome.
honest with you, that was actually an extremely powerful machine for that period
For
of
the
time.
time.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
and you could write your own programs, and the programming language wasn't super confusing,
Yep,
and
exactly.
like it was nice.
And then I got my then I got our Televideo machine, and then I got my first IBM machine. Had I think that was like 1990, and it had Windows 3.1.
1.1. Yeah. So my first computer after my Commodore 4 was a Pentium 120. We're on Star Trek.
Yeah.
You got to mute that shit. And then my computer after that was a Pentium Pro, which was a 200 megahertz thing. And actually, that's probably the best, most stable, most awesome computer I've ever owned. But it couldn't run today's stuff. But in terms of,
Well, it was
like,
funny because we had I mean, so it's not like I wasn't a Windows guy. I mean, I had Windows all the way up through. I built my first website in '95. I think it was 1995.
probably on GeoCities, right?
What's that?
You built it on GeoCities?
GeoCities? No, I bought it on. I built it on. I'm trying to think of even what the name of it was. It was for the ship store. It was called the ship store. It was an informational one. It was about the store.
Hmm.
We didn't sell anything on it. There was no, but we
It wasn't
basically
e-commerce or version of it.
no, but it was informational, and it was pretty cool. It was really funny. I had a buddy of mine that we were both kind of doing it together back and forth, and we were all excited about him when we got him up and running. Did you see our new page? Did you see your new page? Oh, I got 35 hits today. And then Shane would say, oh, that's wild. He said, I got 28 hits today. 28 hits. And well, come to find out, what we were doing was looking at each other's website
to try to
providing the hits.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Okay.
But then it came to the point in time when I lost everything. I got the blue screen of death, and I was overseas somewhere, and I said, you know what? I'm done with this crap. I'm not doing this anymore.
This would have been after 2010.
This was after 2010. This was
Yeah,
after 2010 because I bought this.
2010. Yeah, you bought this new computer while we were doing the podcast.
Yeah, and it was 20. Well, it was 2013 actually, I think.
Yeah, that's
And because I said I was like I'm done, and the reason I got this was I said if I can't handle the Mac OS, if it doesn't work for me, I can put Windows on this machine.
Yeah.
And that was the whole intention. I have Linux machines too. I have 2 Linux machines, but
I like Linux.
yeah, Linux is cool. Linux, my servers all ran on Linux. That was why I was using Linux for a long time. But this guy is just freaking bulletproof. I mean, literally, it's the best laptop I've ever had. The chassis on it is incredible. I mean, it's all milled aluminum. The whole thing is the hinge is milled aluminum.
Good luck trying to buy that for under 10 grand today.
I know, it's wild. It's wild.
Right. Anyway, I wanted to say, let's see, where were we going here? Jim was talking about computers, and now my nerd brain is.
Well, we've been talking about setting stuff up on different platforms and programs and stuff, and it was kind of funny because when I was publishing the magazine, all of the printers were like, "Oh, you're not using a Mac?" I was like, "No, I'm using Windows and I'm using Microsoft." No, I was using Adobe. Adobe Photoshop plus I think PageMaker. Adobe PageMaker seems to be what I was using for the magazine. And you bring them in and they'd be like, we can't. It's like just load it up. It's loaded it up. Oh, it's fine. Yeah, I guess it is fine. Your Macs are powerful than what you think they are. And it was really funny because I was totally like anti-Mac back then, because it was all the publishers and anybody that was doing any kind of graphics work was, you don't have a Mac, well, your stuff is no good.
So the reason the Macs had a bad reputation was I used to be a scientist, okay, and all the scientists were these big liberal kook.
Were you like a real scientist, or were you like a junk scientist?
No, a real scientist. I am actually.
So you didn't go after, say, we have to understand why the Earth is warming up. So we need to find science to prove that it's warming up. So
you can Google my name, Kyle Versteeg, and I have scientific publications that are published in fact. Okay, so a couple papers I've done involved taking and creating a way to knock out a gene in specific bacteria. And in order to knock out the gene, bacteria are susceptible to viruses that have little things called plasmids in them. And plasmids are little sequences of DNA that can, once the virus injects it into the bacteria, that little sequence of DNA splices itself into the virus, and the virus changes its thing. Okay, so I designed a plasmid with a specific gene, and the idea was to knock out a specific gene in a bacteria. So I have made a virus, I have infected bacteria, knocked out the gene, and proved that I did it a couple different times. And then I did some research on transplanting humans with pig organs.
You created the pig man.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the other thing I did was I've done other papers, but the most significant one in surgical literature is a new development and a new way to do replace the bottom half of your arm. Anyway, so I've done real science with real results, and not this nonsense like gender studies bullshit science, which means absolutely nothing, because you can't. Science is you have a hypothesis and you test it, and science is a question. Science isn't an answer; it's a question. Okay.
And
But
and they
anyway,
never stop answering questions.
so back when I was a scientist, everybody was crazy about Macs. But what I hated about the Macs of that era, and why I've always been a PC guy since then, was back then the machines didn't have the processing power and the bus speed. So you know what the bus is, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the bus speed. So the problem is that Macs were way ahead of the game, and they were constantly checking, and they were like autistic. Is my floppy drive still connected? Is my printer still connected? Is my right? But all of that bogged them down so much that it totally screwed your system. Like
Right.
they spent so much time being autistic that they didn't have the capability of doing what you wanted them to do, and so I got so pissed off. Anyway, so Wasatch Dan says, "So were you trying to make orcs?" That's pretty D&D tastics. That needs some explanation. D&D is a dice, paper, and book game that I play online sometimes, and I really do love it. And no, I wasn't trying to make orcs. I was trying to develop a way to figure out the Haemophilus influenza. It's a bacteria that infects people. I was trying to figure out how to make it less infective, and what parts of it were what parts of it you needed to target with a vaccine. And my work on that was probably 1/millionth of the work that went into it, but now there's a vaccine, and some of my work went into that. That's science. That's
Cool.
not blue-haired bullshit. That is science.
So, how do I get the chat thing? How come I can't see that
So
chat
you
thing?
would have to go to the Average Iowa Guy. So the people that are listening at home, you can see a video of this, because we are going to have video stuff. If you're listening on iTunes or some other platform, hey, blessed be you. And we're happy you're listening at all, and we love you. Especially, we love the truckers. But if you want to see the live stream live, what you would have to do is go to the Average Iowa Guy YouTube channel, and there'll be on the main page, there'll be some way to connect to the live stream. And if there's a way you can subscribe to it, and if you hit the alerts button when we're about to go live, the alert will tell you we're going to go live, and you can actually watch it live. I wish there was a better way to do this, but there just isn't. All right. Do you see the chat?
Mm-mm. I don't even see the video.
Go to my Facebook page, and I have a link to the video on there. And if you click on that, you can see the chat, but you're going to want to
Mute that. Hang on a
mute it,
second.
yeah.
Hang on a second. Muting it. I muted it. Okay. Got it.
All right. So you'll be able to see the chat. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some news. Actually, I want to do a knife topic first. Do you care?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
go ahead. Knock
Okay,
yourself out.
We talked about slip joints on the last podcast, and I apologize for the last podcast. I was very, very passionate, and I have I've decided to try to turn over a new leaf.
You were naughty.
I was very naughty, and I apologize for that. And if you were watching the live stream was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
The last podcast ended up at just a little over an hour, and there's a reason why.
Yeah.
It's because I was too naughty, and I have promised myself and Jim that I won't be so naughty anymore. But there is still a segment up about slip joints, and I mentioned my favorite slip joints, one of which being the elephant toe, one of which being the Spyderco Roadie, and my new Spyderco Roadie has come.
Ooh,
and
nice.
and people in the and you can see my gun safe in the background there.
Your
Anyway, gun safe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because of the way the green screen thing is working. Anyway, this is the Spyderco Roadie. I got one in orange. If you remember from the last video, I said that I gave my red one, my first one, to the 12-year-old son of the tow truck driver that pulled me out of the ditch. Okay, now I have another knife that I just got, and I haven't done a video on it, and I haven't even taken it out of the box because it's so slick that people literally, you have to see this. So this is the Fallkniven LTC.
Ooh.
And LTC means legal to carry. This isn't like a new knife or anything, but it comes like this, and then you slide it out, and it's a wooden box.
Yeah, those are sweet.
I know, it's amazing. And then you slide the little wooden top off, and then your knife is in there. And I'm going to eventually do a video of this knife. I want to kind of show how it's packaged because that's so different from the way other things are packaged.
That is one of the things that they do so well, is their packaging is amazing.
Well, and that's like Apple too.
Yeah.
You know, you get an iPad or an iPod and it comes and there's nothing in there but the thing, and it's this tiny little box, and you just take your thing out and you click it, and you don't need an instruction manual. It teaches you.
Right.
Anyway, so I think the LTC is another good option. It's a slip joint, and I love everything that Fallkniven makes.
Hey, give me 8 seconds. I got to go and get my coffee cup because I'm going to start jittering out in here in a minute.
Okay.
All right. I'll be right back.
Okay. So Wasatch Dan says, I've been playing the Division 2 this week and just started thinking about your episode on the Philippines and the disaster recovery discussion. I'd love for you guys to expand on disaster response from the ground level in a future episode. Might be nice to know. Okay, so Jim has actually done.
I'm back.
So they're asking about disaster response, and actually Jim has done every bit as much of real world disaster response as I've done, and maybe we'll talk about that in a future episode. I don't think we're prepared enough, but just suffice it to say that Jim absolutely does disaster. Both of us, if you see my face in your country, it's because you're screwed up. And I used a good word. Not a
yeah, they I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and if you see Jim's face in your country, something went really
wrong. Something went really, really bad.
Yeah.
Right now, our order is in Colombia.
But stop your order.
Yes, the Order of Malta.
Okay, so explain what that is.
It is I believe the second oldest order in the Catholic Church, right behind the Benedictines. It's a order of knights that date back to 1000 AD, 980, I think, or 1000, something like that. Officially, I think it's like 1050 was when but we were working before that. And we were Crusader Knights, took Jerusalem back from the Muslims, fought Suleiman in 1565, stopped the Muslims from invading, stopped them at Malta, stopped them from invading Italy. And we built hospitals and camps between Rome and Jerusalem during the period when people were making pilgrimages from Rome to Jerusalem. So there was a pathway that we protected and built hospitals. Not me personally, because don't have a Dorian Gray thing, but our order did that.
Yeah.
And so to this day, we still are active in almost every country, and we have 13,500 knights and dames around the world.
Ooh,
and
what's a dame?
A dame is
like a Humphrey Bogart type shit.
There. Yeah, a dame is it's a female knight.
All right.
So the lady in Game of Thrones, the giant, what's her, the big lady that the dog kind of liked but didn't
Isn't
like.
Harry Potter though? Isn't there a giantess that befriends Hagrid or whatever?
I don't know.
I guess I haven't seen the new Game of Thrones
Well,
thing.
no, you know the lady that was protecting the little girl.
I'm lost. I read 7 books and I watched a couple seasons, and so now I'm not sure.
Okay. Anyways,
Yeah.
anybody that's watched so she would be a dame. She was a lady with a sword. Anyways, and anyway, so fast forward, we do a lot of relief work around the world. I mean, we've got camps in Syria, we've got camps in Africa, we've got camps in Haiti. We've got camps in, relief efforts. When I say camps, I mean relief efforts. And right now, we've got a big group down in Colombia that is helping the refugees from Venezuela, because any of the millennials that believe in socialism should go down there and take a look at what's going on in Venezuela lately.
But that's not real socialism.
Yeah, whatever.
Bigot.
I know it. I know it. It's so funny because it all starts out the same. And trust me, if you think for 1 minute that the agenda that you're helping pushed is going to be any different than what went on in Russia, what goes on in China, what goes on in Venezuela. And it's really funny because even China now, even as the way it is, it's not as bad as it was, 20 years ago, because somebody introduced that thing called capitalism into their system, and it's kind of bogging them up.
Well, and truth be told, as much as we like to say we're capitalist, are we really?
Well, herein lies the problem. This is the real typical argument about we're already a socialist country. Well, I got to tell you, we may be, and it's real typical because it's the things that they call about our Social Security is one of them. One of the biggest Ponzi schemes on the planet is the Social Security system. If you live a lifetime and work your lifetime and pay in Social Security, if you were to take that money and put it into an interest-bearing account from the day one, you would have a lot more money than you will ever draw from Social Security.
Yeah, at this point, I would be a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, the number they say is somewhere like five, six. Typical average guy is going to have like $5 million, something like that.
I max out my Social Security earnings in April, typically.
Mm-hmm. And so you'll never get that back. So there's your socialism.
Well, and so I would say that at best we are a hybrid system. At best,
and it's not even a good system. I mean, the system that is part of the hybrid is not a good system.
Right.
I mean, it's absolutely not a good system. The what's going on in the medical field right now is obvious.
It's absolutely garbage.
Is destroying our. I mean, you can't even. I was talking to one of our a guy from our church is a new doctor to the area, and he new a couple years now. It's funny because my wife's in primary care and he's in primary care also, and they work in a free clinic. They don't know one another. They've never worked with each other, but they take turns working in this free clinic, and they're the only two providers that are doing it. And it's kind of comical because he was saying that his son is in medical school right now, and he's not going to be a primary care physician. He said primary care physicians cannot leave school and make enough money to pay off their student loans.
No, it's impossible. So all of primary care in the United States is being replaced by nurse practitioners.
Mm-hmm.
So for every however many, let's pick a random number, let's say 5 primary care physicians. They aren't physicians, they're nurses, and then there's one actual physician overseeing them. And I've actually had that gig before, although I wasn't overseeing primary care. I was overseeing a couple of dermatology PAs.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, things are screwed. Don't go into medicine unless you
So if you
in something where you control your own destiny.
and remember what the big promise was: if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor.
Yeah, all them doctors is gone.
They're all gone,
and they're never coming back, and there will never be other doctors to replace. Because you can't afford your student loans. I mean, Jesus Christ, my student loan debt is enormous.
Mm-hmm.
If I told you what my student loan debt is, you would laugh at me. But that's what you have to do if you want to go through this. So if you're going through this, imagine everybody close your eyes and we're going to go on a journey. Okay. Everybody breathe in and breathe out. Close your eyes, everybody. Okay. Now, you want to be a house painter. And in order to be a house painter, there's a college that you have to go through. And you go through the college, and the college costs $300,000 to do it. And then you have to join the House Painters Union, and you have to join the House Painters Society of America. And the House Painters Society of America is $1,200 per year, and the union is $700 a month. And you have to make that, plus you have to make your payments on the $300,000. And you're going to get paid $5,000 to paint a house, and it's going to take you a month. You're going to make $60,000 a year. Now breathe in and breathe out. Okay.
And tell me how you're going to pay for that.
We're doing some visualization, and that's what fucking life is. I'm sorry. I hope that you all actually went on that journey and saw that poor house painter, which is you. Anyway, do we have another topic? Hey, see how good I'm being? I'm being so good. I'm being so good. I even did a guided meditation.
That's funny.
Listeners. See how calm I am today. All right. What do you got? You got a topic?
Yeah, I got New Zealand going crazy.
Okay. This is a very, very, very complicated topic. Okay. Do you have an article that you want to point to?
It doesn't even matter. I mean, you can look anywhere you want. It's everywhere.
General thoughts. So what are your general thoughts so far? And here's where we're at. Have you read the manifesto?
I did not. Have you
seen the video?
Nope, I have not.
Okay.
I have not because I've been busy doing a bunch of other stuff. Then I just haven't had a chance to.
I mean, how are you going to do all of this stuff? Anyway, so far, based on the news media and the things that you've been able to absorb, what are your thoughts?
You know what? It's I don't want to make light of it, for one thing. It's a very tragic thing. But also, it happens. I don't know. I didn't read the manifesto. I don't know what was driving him. I've heard all the different reports that it was all Trump's fault. It was all Trump's rhetoric. It was all, and that's what drove this guy to him.
An Australian.
Yeah, he's an Australian.
Yeah, right.
And anyway. When I hear stuff like that, it just makes me crazy because nobody's going to ever get to the root of the problem. Nobody's ever going to be able to stop this from happening. How many people did he kill?
50.
Okay, so he killed 50 people. We had a shooter in Las Vegas that killed how many people?
I don't know. And guess what?
We still don't know what happened.
It's completely under the rug.
Yeah, we don't even know what happened.
Before. They swept that shit under the rug.
So this guy had video of him doing it.
And a manifesto.
The guy in Vegas, I don't know if you've ever been to Vegas or not, listeners. I don't know how many times you've been to Vegas, but if you looked around, you're always, there's facial recognition on every video feed in that city. You can't walk in or out of that city without somebody knowing who you are and why you're there.
Right.
This guy carried how many bags of guns up into that room, took out windows, and nobody had a video of it. Nobody knows what happened.
Well, there are videos from the outside, but not in his room. And honestly,
there was videos of him going up to the hotel room. Nobody ever saw video. I've never seen videos of him carrying all of those guns up to his hotel room.
I'm sure that they exist, but they're not showing you, probably for a reason.
Probably because 15 people helped him. They were all Democrats.
I disavow that, Senator. For the record,
yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that that guy had help. Okay, so anyways, back to this fella in New Zealand. People get frustrated when they're not getting any, when things don't make sense, when they continue to not make sense. Eventually, people go crazy. I mean, when you have the narrative that people are pushing that continue to tap a raw nerve, and they're not true. When you're continually called a racist and you're not a racist over and over and over again, no matter what you are, you walk out of your house and you open the door with your right hand instead of your left hand, or your left hand instead of you're a racist. You're left-handed. You're a racist. What do you mean I'm a racist? I'm left-handed.
I take great offense to that.
Yeah, I do too. I'm left-handed. But you know what I'm saying? We're because we're white, we're racist. We have it has nothing to do with who we are or what we are. This group of people is the same group of people that says, "Oh, you're supposed to look to everybody's inside. You look at who they are. Except for a white guy, you're a racist." I mean, you even have white people from the left that are saying, "Well, I am inherently a racist. I can't help it."
Privilege.
Well, because it's white privilege.
Right.
I'm sorry, but I never owned a slave. I never owned a slave.
Your parents, your ancestors probably weren't even in the country during slave times.
Right.
Okay. Do you want to know what my ancestors were? Stop. My ancestors were Quakers who were against slavery and were imprisoned for it. Okay. So I'm supposed to accept guilt for shit that my ancestors fought against?
Dude, my ancestors were slaves.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, we were indentured servants.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I don't know, I would have to look it up, but I know that my earliest ancestors in the countries were Quakers.
Yeah.
And I have a novel recommendation for everybody. Everybody calm down. We're being calm today. This is Calm Kyle, not Angry Kyle. Okay. It's almost like NPR Kyle. So James Michener is a fantastic novelist.
Oh, yeah.
He won the Pulitzer Prize for Tales from the South Pacific. But if you want to know about the early history of our country and the slavery thing, one of them is the Covenant, and another one, oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. Sorry about the typing. One of them is the Covenant, which is about South Africa. Another one is Chesapeake, which is a fantastic novel about early America around Baltimore and in places like that. And I'm looking up the list now, and I'm really, really sorry that I didn't have this. So there's Tales of the South Pacific. There's Chesapeake, which is my favorite. But he has one about that's more focused on slavery, where the Quakers were like lashed to a thing and like whipped throughout the world or whatever. And I don't think it was in Chesapeake, but I think it was another. Anyway, really sorry about that. I am trying to make a point and I can't make it because I can't pull to mind the.
Well, I mean, regardless, I mean, it just goes, and to make matters worse, apparently most of the slaves that stopped in this country were on their way to somewhere else.
Yeah.
There were considerably fewer slaves here than there were anywhere else. You know.
So there's another great book by him. It's The Source, 1965, and Centennial, which was made into a miniseries that's like 100 hours long. That's amazing. And it's got great people in it. There's The Covenant, which was 1980. That's about South Africa. I am losing my thread here on where his slavery one was, where he talked about the Quakers and stuff. But anyway, if you look back into history, the Quakers were always against slavery, and I am personally, and have since I was a little baby, against the idea, which is why I'm against socialism. Anyway, Wasatch Dan says Angry Kyle is hilarious. Yeah, it's hilarious, but we have a family podcast, and I have to be a very, very, very good boy. Very, very, very good boy, because honestly, I had to edit out an hour and a half of that last podcast because I was such an ass.
Oh, that was funny.
Well,
that's funny.
I'm lashing myself publicly for being so bad, and
Yeah.
I'm making an effort to change. Okay. Hey, speaking of, we talked about some dead TV shows that nobody knows anything about anymore,
Mhm.
and we've had updates on it in the past. But you just talked about Game of Thrones. That shit. I know nothing about where it's going and where it's going to go, because whatever, you know.
You should actually watch a video. The TV show is, or the HBO show was actually quite well done.
Okay, so here it is. What TV show is this from?
Hang on a second. I can't see.
Jim is looking at his screen, and he's looking.
Oh, that's from Walking Dead.
Yeah, so there's.
I have not seen. You know, it's funny. I have not seen The Walking Dead since Glenn got hit in the head with a baseball bat.
Right, I can't watch it anymore. I liked Glenn, and I honestly, it got so crazy in that season. I'm like, okay, some guy with a barbed wire baseball bat is literally going to take out an armed group of people. No,
right.
Sorry.
Right. That was my thought too. Was what? That's just craziness.
Yeah, I'm just not having it.
No.
Sorry, it's not for me anymore. Anyway, so there's like literally 5 people watching that show, but apparently it continues.
Yeah. Well, what is hang on a second. What am I? I can't see I'm back to. I lost the page where I had your all the chats on it. But yeah, I guess what the point I was getting at was, so they made a big stink about this guy walking into a mosque and killing a bunch of Muslims, 50 Muslims. Okay, and
the Paris nightclub's attack was how many?
What's that?
How many people were killed during the Paris nightclub attacks?
Yeah, exactly.
And
well, wait a minute. They just killed 300 in Nigeria. 300 Christians in Nigeria. The Muslims did.
Right.
Okay. So So wait a minute. We didn't even get that on the TV. That's not even on the mainstream media.
Nigerians are black and nobody gives a shit. It's the same way with Chicago. 300 people die in 6 months in Chicago.
Did you notice that I didn't say?
Most of them are
Did you
Christians.
Did you notice that I did not say there was 300 black Christians or 300 black people? I said 300 Christians were killed.
That's how you should look at it.
Right.
But the media doesn't look at it that way.
It's whatever fits their narrative. That's all it is, all the time. And people, if you don't wake up to this, and I know anybody that's listening to us is pretty much on the same page. They're frustrated. The news industry literally has created a whole nother industry of podcasters talking about the news.
Yeah, there's some really good podcasts.
Yep.
Honestly, I care about Chicago, right? I care about the
Chicago.
God knows how many people are killed in Chicago wait until it's a couple more months when it's hot in Chicago, when they're killing 80 people a weekend. That's like literally what happens. Or on Father's Day. Fucking watch out for Father's Day.
Careful. What did you just say?
Oh, sorry. I'm going to be a nice boy. I'm really sorry about that. I did not mean to say that. But anyway, people, watch out for Father's Day, because a whole bunch of people are going to die that weekend. That's a busy weekend. 4th of July, forget about it. That whole week is mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
That's
although you know what? I've been to Chicago during St. Patty's Day and had a blast.
Well, and I used to live there, and I was born there, and I loved, but it's cold then. There's snow on the ground, and there's not monkey business going on because it's not hot, and you're not sitting at home pissed off because you don't have air conditioning and stuff.
Right. Why don't they have air conditioning there? You know what? They don't have air conditioning in Italy. I don't understand why everybody gets upset about it. Italy's hot, and there's no air conditioning. They don't even have screens. They don't even have screens in their windows.
Okay, so you know where you and I live, right? You live north of me. Mm-hmm. I live at the 45th parallel, right? Mm-hmm. I can have my windows open. The first 2 years I lived here, I didn't even know that I didn't have air conditioning.
Well, half the time you're sleeping with a freaking quilt or a feather quilt at night because it's like 40 degrees.
Right, you open up your windows. So we're at the 45th parallel. The 45th parallel in Europe is the very south of France, very northern part of Italy.
Right.
Right? You go north of that, you would never, I can't imagine living, let's say you lived halfway up Canada, which is where Britain is and these other places. I can't imagine ever needing air conditioning there.
Right.
I mean, Jesus.
No, not at all.
You need heat year round.
Yeah, not at all.
Vitamin D shots in your buttocks, rippling buttocks.
So back to the whole, the way they're reporting things is, this fella in what did his manifesto say? I mean, I really have not had a chance to read it.
Okay, it's all a meme within a meme within a meme, and I don't want to go into it to give it any more attention. I can send you a link to a manifesto. What I'm more interested in is the video aspects of it.
Him live streaming it?
Yeah, because he live streamed it, and of course the live stream video is captured, and now it'll never be gone. No matter what government tries to censor it, it's there.
Quite frankly, it's probably the video portion of it was probably more. That probably was more driving than his hatred for Muslims.
Yeah,
his love of himself and wanting to show people what he was doing was more important than his hatred. And which is really telling a lot when it comes.
It was a big attention show, but anyway. Things to note about the video, okay? so I saw it because somebody sent it to me,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, me being a shithead, I can't help. As long as it's not a beheading video, like
Oh, like
as
that's
long as
not been on TV.
well, but the point is like I don't like gory stuff. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like to watch horror movies. I don't like any gory stuff. And I said, well, okay, well, I'll click this link, even though Thomas told me not to. Thomas the Tank Engine says, I ain't clicking that link, right? So even though Thomas told me not to, I said, okay, well, this is a big breaking story. Nobody knows anything about it. I'm going to click it. And I clicked it and watched it, and it was awful, horrible, but it wasn't to the level of some guy sitting there getting his head cut off and
Right.
screaming, which is what you get when you have the Muslims doing the same thing.
Or catching them on fire in a
cage.
in a
Like,
cage.
this is nowhere near that level. Okay. And, but it's still very disturbing and it's still very wrong. And this is nothing that I would ever condone. Anyway, the thing that struck me about that video, and I think that we should ask some of our friends who are special forces, top
Mm-hmm.
level special forces
Mm-hmm.
in the world for different countries. We should ask them to review the video, because what I saw in that video is a extremely highly trained shooter.
Really?
He did not miss a single fucking shot, and it was all triple taps.
Hey,
Pop, pop, pop.
hey.
Sorry. I'm sorry. He did not miss a single shot. It was pop, pop, pop. Somebody's dead. Pop,
Was
pop,
he?
pop.
Did he have a
person's
rifle,
dead.
or did he have a? What did he have?
He started the video with a shotgun with
Ooh.
9 shells in it. So he had a long barreled. Well, he had a. I don't know exactly, but it was a semi-automatic shotgun with 9 shots. So the tube, the magazine tube extended to the end of the barrel. And It was
Right.
probably an 18-inch barrel. And looking at what happened and looking how effective it was, I think there were slugs in it.
Okay.
Anyway, he started the video with that. He fired 9 shots and there's like 4 people dead. And then he pulls out an AR-15 and it's pop, 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 like that. And it's kills. There's no, and it's perfect. Every shot hits and it's very, 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 very fast.
Very deliberate,
It's
huh?
so fast, and it's very deliberate. And there's a couple times where somebody was running from, and you would have to see the video, but somebody was running. There were 2 times where somebody was running and he went pop, 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 and the person fell dead. And one of them was from a very long distance. Pop,
Mhm.
pop, pop, dead. There's no way you can be that quick. And then there's another time in the video where the guy, where somebody charges him, but he wasn't charging him to take him out. He was charging him to squeeze to the left behind him. He goes pop, pop, and the guy falls down, and the guy hit him with enough momentum that he fell back, but he had his sense about him to get up, pop, 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 done. I mean, it was just too mechanical. It was just too perfect. Like, nobody can do that.
So throwing in
Nobody
the
can do
conspiracy theory thing,
No, I'm just saying, like,
like a false flag, anti-gun
no, I'm
maneuver.
not saying that. I'm just saying that this guy had training that is beyond. We need to have some of our friends see the video.
So what could have happened
get
then is
their
what you're
opinion.
saying. I don't want to be like an Alex Jones guy here, but so what you could be saying is that this guy might have had like a incurable disease, and his family's going to be set for life now because he went through this and did all that stuff. And
I didn't say any of that. What I'm
no, I'm
the
not.
only thing I'm saying.
It's sad. Do
Right,
you think the
only
guy was
thing I'm
trained?
saying
You
is
think the
that
guy
it was
was?
awful, and the guy had. Hey, listen, I have trained my entire life with firearms.
Mm-hmm.
I am very, very, very good with a firearm. And in fact, the demonstration of that was when we went to PUWIP and somebody handed me an AR, which I had never fired before.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into a contest with military people, with police officers, everybody talking a big game, and I won the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Having never fired that weapon before and having never even fired an AR before, somehow I won it. Right? So I have training, and I'm telling you that the guy who was in that video had massive skills, like unbelievable. He's too good to not have awesome training. And so the thing I'm raising is like, let's watch and see what happens, and let's see if that's ever acknowledged. And actually, we need to show that video to some of our friends who do that for a living.
They probably won't talk about it.
No, they don't have to talk about it.
All I know is that
they can talk about it anonymously.
You
can pull them.
Right. Did they just banned a bunch of weapons there, didn't they?
Yeah, they banned everything. And it happened overnight.
Mm-hmm.
But if you read the manifesto, that's exactly what he wanted. So honestly,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so I can send you a link to the manifesto, but literally everything, and it's lengthy, but literally everything that he said he wanted to happen, they're playing by his script. They're idiots, right?
Wow.
The entire thing was a bunch of memes and a bunch of shit posting and all this stuff, and they're literally following exactly what he wanted them to do. And if you read his manifesto, he said they will do this, 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 and this, and this is exactly what I want them to do. And he predicted everything they've done.
So he was an anti-gun person?
No, he wasn't anti-gun. You have to read the manifesto.
Okay.
And I'm not going to speak for him because I couldn't get through much of it. I got through like a few pages, but the few pages that I got through, he's basically calling the shots at this point. Yeah. He's calling the shots, and they're powerless to not play to his script.
Interesting. Chess player.
Yeah, like literally. And I have no idea why he would be that good. Mr. Mesmerize says, I heard the manifest is one big troll letter. Yes, it is. And the video is one huge troll. Like, literally, he had memes written on the sides of the guns that he was killing these people with.
Really?
Like, yeah, no, literally. So you're going to have to, there's a lot that you can learn from this. Like, he was a shitlord, basically.
Okay.
One of these people that speaks in memes and trolls people. And he did awful stuff. But the thing to do is to not play into what he's literally directing you to do. Because if he can predict exactly what you're going to do based on his actions, then he's probably right about some things.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to have him appear to be right ever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and I think that he, if he knew, he probably was part of it.
Anyway,
he might be part of it.
It's bizarre. Anyway, do you have another article?
And
then I have one, and then I got to
go ahead. Go ahead. You're next, anyways.
Okay. So my article, and I have to share on our screen here. Oh, hey, here we go. Application window. Well, that's not it. I have to pull it up here. Twitter. There we go. Okay. And I have to go back. And we're being good boys. Okay, so here's so somebody sent me this horrible thing.
Oh.
And it's about fart rape.
That's funny because I actually was talking about that yesterday.
Right.
And I just got such a kick out of it. I don't know if you can.
So here it is. I'll read the thing. And actually, I did some research, and this actually dates back to like 2013, 2014. But obviously, every once in a while, somebody's going to bring this up because it's so crazy. So trending on Twitter right now is the hashtag fart rape. And the main thing that I have up on screen here is this feminist Ashley Engel, who gets probably some sort of government funding through a university or whatever, says, by farting louder, the man is using passive aggressive violence to position himself as dominant. This intimidates the woman to subconsciously not release as much flatulence, and thus the woman, fearing her safety, doesn't fart as loud as a sign of submissiveness. This in turn contributes to rape culture and women being oppressed.
Isn't that wild?
Okay. She wins the internet. Like literally she wins.
So that's I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, beans for everybody, I guess.
Okay, so and so the problem is that my favorite food of all times is refried beans. And my second favorite food just behind that, and actually 2/3 of the people in the world eat this, so obviously 2/3 of the people in the world are rapists, is rice and beans. I love rice and beans. And
Red beans and rice, baby.
Right, or that, or kidney beans and rice with a piece of chicken in Haiti, or black beans and rice in Cuba. I mean, you go anywhere in the world, it's all beans and rice because it's a great food and it keeps you alive and it's cheap. So tonight, in honor of her news story, I am making Reuben's, and I made some homemade corned beef, and I have
Nice.
homemade sauerkraut. And then on the side, I'm having broccoli with cheese sauce. And as a soup, I'm having bean soup.
Nice.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's
And
nice.
I'm going to blast some big ones, but I'm not going to blast them around women because, hey, everyone, I am married. I love my wife and I love my 3 daughters and I love my female dog. And I would never want anything bad to happen to them like huge farts. So there you go.
That's that seriously, that's like I mean, it's hard to even talk about that and not start laughing.
Yeah, I mean it's so ridiculous that it's beyond what you can comprehend, you know. But thank God it's from 4 years ago and it was squashed back then, but every once in a while somebody will dig back into the memory hole and try to bring something up. Okay, you got an article?
We got to go. How about this is from the Baltimore Sun. Unfair advantages are the rule in college admissions, not the exception. Okay, so we just came off of like one of the biggest college scandals and it's dead already. Nobody's even talking about it now. This guy made $500 million getting celebrities' kids into college.
Yeah, but they're more deserving because they're famous.
And they basically took, and hey, millennials, they took away your chances of getting into Harvard. I was talking to another friend of mine the other day about this, and it was kind of funny because I grew up in a family that was not wealthy. I mean, literally not wealthy. My mom grew up in an orphanage. I mean, that's how poor we were. So anything that we have is basically we've eked it out. Well, when it came time to go into college, state schools were like, that was where we went because there was no chance of going into. I mean, the Harvard and Yale. What's that?
State schools were my option too, and I did well enough in state school to transfer into that upper echelon.
Well, what I'm saying is that we didn't even know about those schools.
Yeah, it
was not in the. I don't know anybody. I went to a pretty nice high school, and I don't know anybody that went to Yale out of high school or even Stanford. I mean, was not even in our realm of thought.
Right, and mine either. And I'm in my high school in the last 3 decades. I'm the only person that's gone to anything even approaching that, and that was for medical school after I'd already done the Count de Monte Cristo sword fighting, freaking awesome performance in college.
Yeah.
Literally writing research papers, inventing viruses, doing all this shit.
Yep.
That's the
So-
only way I got in there.
So it got me thinking about that. That seems to be where the royalty of our country has been born.
True.
Don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. If you don't, I would not be I would not have been able to do what I was supposed to do with my life, which is be a plastic surgeon, unless I was able to worm my way into one of those schools. It would have been impossible, and then I would have been a nobody, and I wouldn't have gotten good training. And
Yeah, but those people that are going to those schools, think about this for a second. And I'm going to be real specific. I'm going to talk about the kids that got paid to go. I mean, that bribed their way into this program. These are the people that quote unquote run foundations and have people elected because they've already inherited, have a silver spoon,
right.
Something going on there that they don't have to work. They don't have to work. All they need to do is to be bamboozled into pushing some kind of political agenda and run for office.
Right.
I mean, that's all they need to do. They don't even have to be right because no matter what happens, they're going to always be taken care of.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They can be the royalty of the United States, the royal families. Now they're talking about mob rules now these are the same people that are talking about changing our country from a republic to a mob rules country. So that means if you have something that the mob wants, they just take it.
Yep.
You have no rights whatsoever. Let's throw the Constitution in the toilet, and the strongest bully wins.
Right. Hey, I really have to cut this off.
Oh, okay.
I'm in great distress here.
Oh, you must be having are you having distress with this conversation? Or are you having distress
I'm having distress because I really, 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 really have to go to the bathroom.
Oh, I was going to say you must have had sauerkraut yesterday.
No, I didn't. I'm just very well hydrated.
Okay,
I've been a good boy.
All right. Well, then let's call this a wrap.
All right.
We can call this a wrap. I don't have a problem with that. It's a beautiful sunny day out right now. It's all of must be 42 degrees outside right now.
Apparently, our sound and video quality is coming through great today, all the way to Germany. That's what Mr. Mesmer.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we know I have high-speed internet now. What's so awesome.
Yeah, I know. Before it was like all wonky and stuff, but we're getting better.
Yeah,
we'll keep improving. We're at least trying. We care about you, everybody.
Well, we're like Care Bears.
I'm such a good boy today.
We're like Care Bears. We care a lot. We care a lot. Although for a couple of angry white guys, that's nobody's going to believe us. Nobody's going to believe us.
Oh, I'm a good boy. I didn't do nothings.
Yeah. Nobody's ever going to believe us.
All right. Well, what do we tell them?
Keep your knives sharp and your friends sharper. And
okay.
We'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.